Hey, everybody. This is Pastor Justin from Chinese Baptist Church. I just wanted to um, write a little kind of a blurb, a blog on kind of what it looks like to be a youth pastor. And I really wrote it for people who either are not youth pastors or, they're members of the church, the members of a search committee or a personnel committee. And so I've had the privilege of working with teenagers for the last 21 years. I've been on staff at Chinese Baptist Church for 12 years. I'm on my 13th year right now. And so um, we are predominantly a Chinese American church. We're the oldest Chinese church here in Houston, Texas. But the reason why I did this really is to kind of pull back some of the caricatures of what youth ministry is, the position of a youth pastor, to kind of frame it correctly so that the churches can thrive in the future. But not just that, but the students inside youth ministries are able to find the people that are not only qualified but have a heart to really do this type of ministry. And so I wanted to kind of touch on some things while we're talking. I think historically, youth ministry has always been kind of a subset of the church, just because of the demographic, right? You're working with 11, 12-year olds all the way to about high school, so about 18 years old. And so within that 7-year gap, um, I know culturally, we've always seen that as well. That's a time of development, a time of just adolescence. It's a nuisance at times. We recognize there's a lot of potential, but no one really wants to kind of take charge of it. And so I think that's translated into the church, and kind of people just say, well, it seems almost like a glorified babysitting thing. And so I really want to kind of tackle and address that kind of misnomer. And the real reason is because, we're dealing with individuals, right? We're dealing with souls. And I'm going to argue that these 7 years are one of the most critical moments in the time of a student. And not just because of, how much they're growing, right? But as the brains are continuing to develop and has not fully developed yet during adolescence, it is the most crucial time for discipleship and for laying down some fundamental foundational philosophies of their life. And so just think about 11-year-old all the way to about senior year. I mean, they're going through puberty, right? Their hormones are increasing exponentially. They're thinking through identity formation, who they are, what friend groups do we want to be a part of. They're thinking about career, and then they're thinking through relationships. They're watching the news on social media, these type of things, and they're processing their own worldviews on this. And so during this 7 years, it's crucial for somebody to come along and to walk them through, not just give them the answers of what's right and wrong, but walk them through of how to think correctly. And I would say, as a Christian, it's all the more important to not only lay that foundation on top of a gospel understanding, but to shape it in a way where the gospel starts to frame their worldview. And so when it comes to the youth pastor, I think a lot of times we just said, well, okay, so who's able to entertain them? Who's able to kind of build out some programming? And I'm going, hey, that's a really low bar for a church, especially if this age, right, this time period is so crucial. And again, I can't overemphasize the difference that youth ministry has gone through in the last 20, 30 years. And because of the advent of social media, our students are growing at the same age, but the information and the way that the culture is now shaping them, um, it's a lot quicker. And they're getting inundated with more information at an earlier age. You have more people in views discipling your students earlier and quicker. And so I'm going, if the church needs anything, it's not just youth ministry that caters to taking care of their needs or just programming for them, but it's really a serious time where you need qualified, gospel centered people to kind of walk them through this really tumultuous time and just kind of formative era. And so, my challenge to the church is really think through this position, and not just of the importance of it, but how the church is going to resource, how the church is going to equip the ministers, how they're going to come around this ministry, and to go, hey, we understand the importance of this time frame. What do you guys need? And so I want the churches to think seriously, not just about the role, but about the trajectory of this demographic, not just only during that time of the church, but how can we form and shape this ministry to look more like Christ so that next generations of the church, they're not falling away, right? They're not buying into just simple moralism. And so I think the church has to own that, right? And I would say specifically a lot of the ethnic specific churches, um, to put a high premium on student ministry, and help them and resource them and equip them and get them what they need to do this, just because of where it's at. And so wanted to kind of give you guys this this document, these blogs, pulled some stuff from the youth compensation survey that some really brilliant people were able to do, but this really frames it of going, okay, well, you know, the who you're looking for is, it's tough, right? I mean, you're asking them for certain education levels, you're asking them to be trained at certain thing, and yet the way we onboard them is difficult. And so I wanted you guys to kind of see what a youth pastor is thinking, from somebody who, again, I'm not year 1 or 2, somebody that's been doing this for a while, but able to kind of beg and plead the church, hey, your youth ministers, your youth workers, there's a whole side of their psyche and their soul and their own personal development that oftentimes gets overlooked because of just the title youth, right? And so if I can challenge the church to take this really seriously, not just for the sake of the church, but for the health of the students, for the next generations, and just the kind of the health of where the church wants to go in the future. And so look forward to hearing your comments. You can always find me. I put my info on here, but appreciate it. Thank you very much.